Ten Hag himself was asked to rate the scale of the achievement at the end of the season by winning the FA Cup.
For everyone, together, I would say it's overperforming with all the problems we have had. And so so into the final is already a big achievement, a great achievement. But we are here for trophies. But we have an opportunity to win a trophy so far, and that's good. But we're not satisfied by being in the final. We want to win them when you are there, and that's what we will go for. That's our mentality, and that's why we are successful. That's why I am successful already over 10 years as a manager. I always bring out the maximum of any squad.
I mean, he's saying there, Simon, I would say it would be overperforming. It would be an overachievement with all the problems they've had.
I know this is probably mean-spirited, but I don't take Erik ten Hag very seriously. I think some of the rubbish that comes out of his mouth doesn't make a lot of sense, and is completely out of kilter with where some of the observations are being made. The other day he was talking about young players coming through and what was going on with that in the context of something else. I don't think he should be answering questions in certain ways either. I think he should shut journalists down. I think the embarrassing comment should have been nipped in the bud. I don't think he should have to explain what Anthony's done. I think he should say, I'm not bothered about it, next. Because I think he gets himself into conversations that he doesn't need to be involved in. But getting to an FA Cup final for Man United overperforming, okay. Well,
if they win it.
Well, beating Liverpool and beating Manchester City will be based upon Man United's performance overperforming because he's produced a team that underperforms.
You need a bit of luck to win any cup competition. It would have been easier. I mean, look, I agree with Simon to a degree. He does get himself tied up in knots sometimes where he goes with the conversations. But he's... I've forgotten my train of thought there. What was
I think he's quite right. So to stake his claim, push his own point.
Well, he's got to
say, well, hang on a second. If we win this, with all the problems we've had, I'm not sure what the problems are, but if we win it, then it's an achievement that should be recognised.
Well, of course, and so he would. But that's not what we're asking to comment on. We're asking to comment on him and his performances in the team. And I don't feel that, and I have never felt, from the first press conference that we heard him speak to the manner in which he got smashed by Brentford in one of his early games, to the challenges that he's had during a period of time, to the outcomes that they've got over the 20 months that he's been there, that he has the capability to lead Manchester United out of the wilderness.
He could have just said we had a bit of luck. Which
is where they are.
We had a bit of luck today. Coventry were great. We'll take it. You need a bit of luck sometimes to win things. We all know that. Looking forward to the final.
Does it inspire you? When you listen to it, me and him, and I think we both said the same thing. When we listened to him do his first press conference, nothing about you inspires me.
No.
And when I listen to him mumbling on in some monotone drone, which I have to accept is primarily because of his mother language, I don't find myself taking anything away that makes me think, I think you've got a lot about you. I listen to Philip. I listen to Philip.
We don't know what he's like in the dressing room.
Well, you can see what he's like in the dressing room by how his players play. Rashford does what he feels like. Garnacho does what he feels like. There's no work ethic in the team. They turn up when they want.
3 finals in 2 years. We constantly go on about Mourinho having won a European trophy at Manchester United in his time there.
Yep.
Yep. If this fella finds a way of winning the FA Cup, it would have to be recognised, wouldn't it?
Well, of course it would. Because if they beat Manchester City in a Manchester derby in the FA Cup final, then of course it has to be recognised for what it is. But that does not remove him from. I very much doubt that they will. Man City are going to have a really off day. Well, we'll see.
Man City might have a sending off after 10 minutes. Things can happen.
Oh, yes.
What it shows to me is, and why there's a narrative around the embarrassment of it, and United very relevant of whether they win the final or not, and he should go and all that. It's I've said this. Consistent performances and progression of a football club and a team is what the manager should be judged on. So you can see a progression, you can see players getting better. That's not always indicated by trophies. So you could look at Man United's lead up to the League Cup final when they beat Newcastle and the draw they had, and everyone was a home game and mostly lower league up, etc.
Yeah.
You can look, you can fight, you can do what you want. Trophies are
a benchmark.
A good benchmark, but not the only one. And I've said this for a long time. For example, when Bayer Leverkusen lost the Champions League final, lost the league on the last day, and lost the FA Cup the German Cup final, they won nothing. But they still had an incredible season where, for a consistent period of season, they won load of games against top opposition, and a load of their players went on to great things.
Yeah.
And their manager was part of that. But just because he didn't win anything doesn't mean he didn't do a good job. He did. United are not progressing. They've gone backwards. A lot of their players have gone backwards. The expectation of Manchester United's fans has gone backwards, all under his reign. Now, if he wins the FA Cup, that doesn't change the momentum of all those things. I think Ten Hag's done. I do not see any scenario, even if they went out and beat Man City 2 or 3-0 in the final, where he stays.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if he does, they're going to be in the same position next season because of all the other clubs progressing ahead of them.
And new broom sweep clean.
There's no ways there.
And I do Radcliffe, and I think, we throw around terminologies like embarrassing, right? And hyperbole is the staple diet of everything. Chelsea's performance wasn't disgusting; it was poor. But people throw these expressions around because it creates attention.
I think the way he communicates, do you know something? He reminds me of another Dutchman, Dick Advocaat, who kind of barks English at you in fits and bursts. As opposed to be a kind of smooth English speaker.
I accept that, but there's no substance behind what he says. You know, it's evident we're looking at what we're talking, games that we're watching in front of us. We may not have the insight that he has on a daily basis because neither would we, because that's his job. But the evidence is in front of your eyes. I mean, Danny talks repeatedly about the choices that players make and the fact they've got choices. Rashford's got a choice. Filsey's got a choice. Doesn't have to track back. So does Garnacho. They don't. Where does that come from then? That's got nothing to do with the challenges of adversity. It's got everything to do with
Simon, he just pushed back. I mean, we heard Ten Hag yesterday say that journalists embarrassing. I think you're embarrassing asking him that question.
Well, great, fantastic, because
he pushes back in it,
and so
he's in a corner. He's in a corner, and people do when they're in a corner.
He's got some substance.
And at the end of the day, he wouldn't be the Manchester United manager if he's got some substance. I don't want him to have some substance. I want him to have substance. Full stop. Not some. We can all turn on a little bit of substance every now and again.
I feel for him. I do, because he's walked into one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in the world, from Ajax, which is still a big club, but not the same level. And he's dealing with lots of situations he probably didn't envisage, and he's learning on the job. Unfortunately, it's been too much for him. And the biggest reflection of that is not how he does a press conference, it's how his team plays. And the players, for a long period now, when you watch United play, don't play for him.
So you think no matter what, he goes at the end of the season?
It's got to, if United want to be competitive again, because he's not up to the job.
Okay.
He's a good guy, a good football man, and he's done okay in his first season, but he's not up to the job to manage a club like Manchester United.
Well, they're up against Sheffield United tonight, and of course you can hear that across the talkSPORT network. Let's hope there's no cupping of the ears in that one.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.